My favorite phrases is like action brings action. If you start swishing up the water, other things are gonna be like, what is happening over here?
One thing that's new that I don't think we ever mentioned is positioning yourself externally to the world out there, but positioning yourself to the film community internally.
If you practice a lot, that golden rule, you know, bring it on, the best you could offer, it comes back to you.
I don't want to do this not because I can't do it, but because I'm not going to enjoy the process, and me not enjoying the process is probably going to make it worse at the outcome.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Unboxed Creativity. We're here today, of course, with Emmanuel and Val, and today we have a very, very good guest, Mr. David Morefield.
That's it. Happy to be here.
All right, so yeah, we just gonna
roll right into it, yeah, and we're super excited to have you here. I know months ago, I've always asked you about the social media side of things and then posting yourself, and in that different world of we're filmmakers, but now we have to be in a landscape where we have to show what we're doing, be online, and then show kind of the BTS and the lifestyle of a filmmaker. But before we get fully into that, can you, let's say for the people watching that don't know you, who are you, what do you do, and then what else, because I need to do YouTube as well, what do you do on the YouTube side?
Yeah, I would say the headline title would just be a freelance DP. And then that can extend to just being a freelance videographer. There's a lot of jobs where I have different roles. So sometimes I'll be the PA, sometimes I'll be the cam op, sometimes I'll direct and produce the whole thing. And usually my work resides into corporate interviews or some sports. And over the last few years, I've been able to kind of narrow down and kind of pick exactly what I want to do. And that has been eliminating post-production out of my services. So now that I can clearly communicate, this is what I do and I stay in this lane, it's been a lot easier to target clients and kind of be looked at as more of like a specialist than we're just going to throw all these requests at you and expect you to be able to do it.
Yeah.
How long ago you start, you know, doing all the DP work? Or when did you first pick up a camera? That's a...
Yeah, I was gonna literally go into that too, Val.
Well, it's, you know, started just like skating with friends, skateboarding, and I love watching skate videos. And then we were always making our own montages and videos, and I think the first client I had was someone at the skate park because they already saw me there, like having my own thing happening. So they just said,
the guy with the camera.
Yeah, exactly. That's the guy with the camera, and I need something filmed, so let me ask the guy with the camera. And then that kind of like introduced me to like selling the services. And it just kind of like grew from there. And in the beginning, it was extremely wide range of services offered. And I think that was really beneficial to me because I got to dip my hand into multiple markets, multiple industries. Like I had a 4-year real estate media business doing photo and video and drone. And that taught me so much about multiple clients and quick turnover and point of sale, like all that stuff. And you know, I'm sure as we've all had, there's so many things we've covered, but they all have kind of helped me experience different things that I learned and can take forward. So that the skateboarding thing started, you know, probably when I was like 14, 15, and then first job was probably 18, and then it just kind of like, it was just like a slow burn for a while. I didn't have a situation where it was like make money or die. So I was able to, I had the privilege of kind of like slowly growing.
So I want to take a step back even more. I love what you said with the first time you got a camera in your hand. Where are you from, and how was that upbringing, and how do you think that, you know, made you dive into that and start? Did you start with photography or video, you said?
Video.
Video already. So yeah, where are you from? How was that, you know, childhood growing up, and then, you know, getting involved with filming right away?
Yeah, just like, you know, kind of like a Florida boy through and through. Grew up on a coastal town, so a lot of surfing, a lot of skateboarding, a lot of just being near water. And so that translated to a lot of the things I was shooting and filming. So, you know, fishing, surfing, beach competitions, triathlons. Cocoa Beach is a really small city on the east coast of Florida. So I would call it a small market, but it gets a ton of tourism because of the rockets.
Yeah.
So it's nice. As a tourism destination, you have people who want content. And they got small businesses, not too many big businesses, but it's a great like learning pad when you're trying to get going.
So you think like that upbringing has to do with like you starting, and why video and not photography? Because like a lot of people like that, they would start with photos first.
So skate videos, like for the other skaters who are watching this, there's like a couple like seminal films of, Alien Workshops videos, Menic Matty, Habitats videos were all like early 2000s, like peeling off the cellophane on the VHS, like those videos that we've watched so many times. I got to watch other people, other filmmakers really push their own creativity, and they had to align it with the brand's aesthetics, right? Mm-hmm. So a skate filmer isn't making much money, but they're traveling the world and going to all these different cities that each has their own architecture, and they are trying to figure out what's the best way to film this on a mini DV tape camera and make a 45-minute full-length skate video. And just being able to make a cohesive, creative effort with 10 different skaters, hundreds of different cities around the US or around the world, like it's a challenge to give it a look. And those videos did such a good job of being like, this is our look.
And that camcorder, like early 2000s style became a thing, became a tradition with skateboarding, right, in a way. And then it translated to video games later as well, which is like was carrying, Tony Hawk was carrying that same style with skating and surfing. I think it became its own visual. That's cool.
Perks of me, I'm always been very like hardcore fan of like Red Bull House Media, and I kind of follow every single skater, and just like I remember watching those early, 2010, 2011, and it would be just, punk rock, fish eye, and that is aesthetic. I still keep in my toolbox. I still always want to pull like a punk soundtrack or something like that, just because that is a lot of my visual, notebook right there. But I feel like from there to what it is right now, because I still keep watching the storytelling, those videos, it's becoming insane. And also, of course, the production itself is magnificent. But yeah,
the production has like changed drastically from those early 2000s videos where they had a Sony VX1000 camcorder, which had the camera, an integrated lens, a mic built in, an EVF, and you could get the whole package for like probably $2,000, $3,000. But like you can be in any situation, so you can film the whole video with just that camera. Yeah. Whereas like now, because the camcorders have now been broken into individual pieces that we have to go out and source and put together, like the look and the functionality is nowhere near the same, and the results are nowhere near the same because everybody's Frankensteining their own thing together. So that's why I kind of moved over to a camera system where I was like, I want like the base form to already be there.
What do you use right now?
So now I have the FX6, and before that was the C70, GH5S, Canon 80D, 60D. So a lot of mirrorless up until now. And then just the integrated features that are with the FX6, just it creates like a workflow optimization, which I'm always trying to increase, and I just like that system. I wish there was an integrated lens option that was you know, some type of 20 mil to 120 mil,
Yeah,
f2.8, f3. If that was made, I'd be like, great, that's even one less thing I have to think about.
You kind of fit everything into one system, and you just are able to cover everything like an old school
Yeah,
camcorder.
and they have modern
interesting.
options like that, but they don't have the image quality of like a Sony.
Do you think that's part of why a iPhone footage, we always talk about that, do you think that's part of why that's getting better and more popular? Because you're still able to create so much content with just that one system, and at the end of the day, it does have 3 different lens, like fixed lens almost. That's what they're trying to like make it look like. I don't know internally how that, you know, works, but I know that they have at least 3 different focal lengths, so you can be a little wider, you can be on like a medium shot, and you can be like a telephoto, pretty much like a 50 millimeter, a little more than that. Do you think that's why, like, that's one of the reasons why it's getting so popular? It's just like everything's just right there.
100%. It's the most efficient camera system I've ever used. It's not the best looking, but it's so fast, and for you to have an ultra wide, a medium, and a telephoto with that motion is a dream. And then the integrated HDR software for the image, you're like, oh, I can see the sky on my iPhone and I can't see it on my professional camera. But the software optimization is just so nice. The steady shot built in is so great. And then you even have the editing program built in, and you can upload to YouTube built in. And I was kind of wondering if other devices are going to follow that. Like, I could totally see the Pocket camera series with that 5-inch screen implement like a very what's our editing program called? DaVinci. A DaVinci Lite in the back of there, so that you could just put things together on a timeline and export.
I mean, I don't know if it's GoPro or if it's like the Insta360s, but one of those has AI integration, and you could do like AI, like, you know, those videos where people are just like changing every frame. Now you could do that with the camera. So you record it, and then you do like a mask over what you want to be changed, and then it renders it, and then boom, the video's there in your Insta360, and it's AI rendering, and you're walking around with like a cup of coffee, and you're changing every, you know, like the famous AI.
Did I say DJI? I meant to say Blackmagic. Blackmagic's editing program. Yeah. To have some type of like editing software built into the capture device
would be amazing.
Would be so good for certain things.
I wonder if the reason why some cameras and companies that make them don't want to do that because they want to distance themselves from the users that shoot on iPhone. I wonder if, because there is a thing, I want to make everything more simple and the user experience a little better for everybody, and this thing to just be super, like, you know, 5 minutes, you learn how to use it, you're good, the interface is great, everything. But to what extent do they want to do that versus let me distance the professionals, the pros from the users that have an iPhone and can shoot and edit there?
But if you see like the lower rate Sony and Canon cameras have a bunch of user edited stuff in it. Just like, I don't think you can do what you're doing, like edit it on your camera output. There's a lot of stuff that makes it like an iPhone, and you shoot and you record, and it's super easy. And then you could just, even even this camera that I have right here, I shoot and I could just download all the photos and videos on my phone instantly.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, I wonder if like they want to make it easier for everyone to use it, or there's a certain level of professionalism that they expect you to reach so that you know, you can distance or separate, I guess, what's the user and what's the pro, you know?
I will say that just the culture about cameras and video production has changed so much just through technology, that if we think of the people who make them, they of course want to reach more and more people every time. So if they make it more user friendly, of course they're gonna have more sales. And at the end of the day, everybody's shooting anything, you know?
Yeah.
Like they want it for dancing, for TikTok too.
But with the price range that they're at, though, not everyone has the $5,000 for, you know.
That's where I'm going. Like, always the pro gear will never be affordable.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the deal right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they know who else they can invite to
Mm-hmm.
get closer to cameras, but I don't think they're willing to. They have to set the bar, I think, at some point.
Yeah.
It also depends on usage. If it's YouTube, you get the ZV-E1, and then you're set in one package, $2,000, and then you don't even need. You don't need an FX6, you don't need an FX3, you don't need A7S3.
No, you don't need a
Everything's
flash
built in.
control. And right now it's like it's all about image quality. So if it looks close to what is the standard, that's it. Yeah. And that's why iPhone is so smart.
Yeah, I think there's kind of what you're hinting at, and also what you're saying is there's feature segmentation between products, and I think Canon probably does the worst job of having that make sense between their lineup. As the cameras get more expensive, sometimes you're losing features that lower end products have, and that was one of the reasons that pushed me over to Sony. But what you're saying about features being a delineator between our consumer and our professional products, you know, price is one thing that can easily stop that, but there is like this blending between products, and a lot of professional features I wouldn't care about, but so let's just take high resolution. So 8K is something that I wouldn't use or have any practical use for. And if I am in Sony land, I would have to go up to the $25,000 Burano. Whereas if I'm in Canon land, I can go down to the R5.
Yeah, we get 8K.
So it's like, even the features don't make sense in delineating which side of the line you're on. And it can be super confusing if you are trying to invest in a brand. You know, which one is gonna make the most sense in the long run.
It really depends, right?
It depends what you are trying to do, like what you're trying to achieve and what your productions are. Because for me, pro level means pro ports on the camera, just assumed larger capacity batteries, no overheating, usually internal ND, and you know, whereas some other people, pro might mean, like I said, 8K, this other stuff that I'm like, that's not professional, or that's not my professional.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even now too, it's like
exactly.
like with Red Komodo, they're pushing global shutter. Global shutter is amazing. If any camera had global shutter, that'd be amazing. But a lot of cameras are even more expensive than that. Don't even touch the global shutter. Same thing with ND filters. Now, usually cinema cameras have ND filters, but the R5C, 8K. What do you want? 8K or ND filters? You gotta trade
ND
it off.
filters.
Yeah, ND filters all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's the business of inviting everybody to the party and be like, hey, but you can try this one, good quality. And you know, they call it now the YouTubers, you know, social medias and stuff like that. And it's all about, you know, just make it.
A whole new generation of people buying cameras rather than 10 years or 20 years ago, people, or even before the YouTube area of just people just buying cameras, like you said, for commercials, for, you know, creating money out of this big box camera you have. Now it's a small DSLR could be all a YouTuber needs to make probably more money than a regular DP.
100%.
Just going around with like an FX30 making bank on just, you know, your live streams, your YouTube videos, your TikToks.
Well, we were talking about this before podcast started, but if you're a YouTuber and you are sharing information, which can lead to selling information, there's so much money in that route, whereas that person's experience level might be extremely low or just very concentrated to a YouTube studio production, but they can provide extremely good value to people who are willing to pay for it.
Now that we established some of the things, so you started off as, you did skateboarding, you got a camera for your skateboarding videos?
Yeah, I borrowed Dad's camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you, when was the step of you wanting to only use it for skateboarding to you wanted to do?
It was only for skateboarding.
So what was the
Transition, I
transition?
I think when people started like offering money to do something else. So like the first job was film this skate contest, and then
In Cocoa?
in Cocoa Beach, yeah. Worked at the skate park, so like they just knew me there, which is like a huge thing. Is if people know you,
Yeah,
they can
100%.
reach you and contact you.
Have you ever done stuff with Ron John Surf Shop?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. So like my buddy Dalton has had a extremely long relationship with them. He has a production company in Brevard called NPI Productions, and if you are a Florida native going down any interstate, you've seen the Ron John's billboards. So he takes all those photos of like the surfers and the skaters. So yeah, I've been involved in all that, and then I think like my mom's friend just saw me with a camera and was like, I'm a real estate agent. Can you take pictures of a listing? And I'm like, I think, I mean, I can physically take a picture of a room, so I think so. and then it was like $60. And I was like, this is a great job. And
Was
that just
was that your
added
first
on.
paid $60 for real estate photography?
First real estate job, I think was $60.
$60.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
making
probably like, you know, it should have taken me an hour to shoot, and it probably took me like 3 hours to shoot, and I don't know, 5 hours to edit. So
Heck yeah. So
not the best hourly
When you
rate.
look at it now, how do you feel about it?
Oh, it's great because it set me up to.
No, but I'm saying if you looked at what you did then, if you look at those photos now, do you feel proud or do you think they look?
So that first job, no, they were a level above a real estate agent taking their own pictures with like a Nikon Coolpix camera. Like it was like right above there. But it was on a kit lens, an 18 to 55, so 18 was on a Super 35 is not wide enough. Yeah. So I was like, I can barely see the room in here, you know. And she's like, we can barely see the room, so.
Because it's like 1.6, like so like you would be 1855, you said?
Like a 24 mil. Yeah.
Oh yeah, pretty much. That's crazy.
Yeah. But
My first lens.
that route, like I said, taught me so much about how to get clients, how to get repeat clients, how to get payment quickly because you have other shoots scheduled that week, and now all your time is taken up editing at home. So we need to figure out a better solution, and scheduling and just like all of the small business stuff. It was a great learning opportunity of like, this is business and production put into one. And as a one-man band, you know, one-man company, it's on you to kind of figure all that out. So it's really nice when you actually learn the lessons quickly.
Yeah.
100%. And so how long was that transition of you just started doing it, you just started getting your first couple clients to when I guess most people found out about you when you made your first YouTube video? How long were you doing all that before you even thought about YouTube?
I mean, YouTube was like a year and a half ago, and that was like 12, 13, 14 years ago. So YouTube has just been a recent effort.
So you've done all these things, and you said 13 years, 12 years?
So somewhere around there.
Guy having a party out there.
Oppenheimer, Godzilla.
So you've kind of had at least your whole first half of your career just without any type of.
I would say 90% of my
90% of your career
Yeah.
to this point. Yeah, you've had everything without any. Did you use social media at all to advertise yourself?
No, it's all
word of mouth?
word of mouth. Like if you're in a small town, you quickly, if you put in the effort, you can meet everyone. So the way I met my buddy Dalton was I was talking about a surfing video that I was doing, and my buddy said, you should talk to my buddy Dalton. I'll connect you guys. He's always talking about nerdy camera stuff too, and surfing and skating, and he's going to Puerto Rico, and I was like, oh, this guy sounds great. Like, so I hit him up, and we had lunch, and I was like, I just want to meet other people doing things in this world. I don't know anybody else, and that's when I started a really long relationship of freelancing under him. And mind you, he's like 2 years younger than me, but he had such a go get 'em, like stop at nothing, persistent attitude. I was like, oh, this guy's like cool to be around. I can tell he's gonna like go forward, and I'm trying to go forward too. So I had to always keep a mindset of, you know, I want to work with him, but like I need to have my own clients and stuff. He lost a contract at one point, and his company was giving me like 60% of my work through the year. So when that dropped, I was like, oh, I really need my own clients at all times. But yeah, meeting him started the learning and growing and doing so many different things. Like the amount of places that I've traveled just for his productions, like specifically during like a 4-year period, like 2016 to 2020-ish. I mean, we've been to Barbados multiple times. We've covered music festivals around the U.S., did stuff at a national Major League Baseball game. We've done so many different large productions that I could never get myself into. But he needs a good team that he can trust, and I'm looking for people that I can work for too.
So 2 things that makes me think about. In a way, he sounds like a mentor to you, even though he's younger. I don't know if that would be the right word, or if it's just, would you emphasize that networking is the most important thing? Because those 2 things, they keep coming back when we interview different people here. They talk about having a mentor or someone that knows a lot in the industry that has a certain attitude that you want to have too. So like what you're saying, someone that, you know, go-getter. He wants it, he's going to get it, he's going to go for his goals. Or it can be both too, but surrounding yourself with other creatives and being there and putting yourself out there and getting that networking, you know?
Yeah, I would say I could kind of just watch what he was doing and see the wins and losses that he would take, and I could just like take notes without any of the risk.
That's sweet.
And then also, like one of my favorite phrases is like action brings action. So it was I heard it from a fishing guy, and basically if you start swishing up the water, other things are going to be like, what is happening over here? Mm-hmm. So it's really the same thing in most other cases. If you see someone making their case, plowing forward, you're like, oh, this is great because I know they're not going to take from me. They're already going, and I'm going too. So it's this mutual relationship of we know we're both trying to be in it for ourselves and push forward. We're not relying on anybody else.
True. And for what you said about being, you know, close to creative people, for me, when I used to live in Melbourne, I was, you know, surrounded by people that was mainly in science, also engineer, and all of that far land for me. But I was the one promoting myself so hard that I wanted to do what I do. And people that also made, in their eyes, my willing to do stuff. And then if they knew something about something that has to do with my world, they will immediately call me and say, hey, you have to talk to this person and stuff like that. Then when I moved here, that's where I started making my creative niche. But also, not all creative have the same like mentality. You know, creativity is way big as a topic, and not everybody kind of grind as you do. So when I start meeting people like you guys, that I can recognize how we put yes, the part of the art, the creativity, and then put in the work. That's where I was like, oh, let me hang out more with these people. Because, like, for me, it's like, yeah, you can be around a lot of artsy, creative people, but if they're just super stuck in their mindset of art, sometimes you don't get much from it, you know?
The money and the art.
Yeah, it's not
Or just
about
the ambition.
money.
Yeah,
It's,
the ambition.
yeah, it's to not only get stuck in your ideas. You know what I mean? There's a lot of idea making.
Actually bring it in.
Yeah, because we could have really good ideas right now, but who's gonna pull the trigger right now?
Exactly.
Who's gonna start knowing about the pre-production, post-production? Let's do this.
Actually
this,
make
this.
it happen, yeah.
Yeah, so that's two different things. You know, sometimes you're hanging out with the wrong crowd and you're the only one pulling it. You have a lot of things to pull. But then when you're like with people with the same style or say mentality, you just flow together.
Yeah.
You grow forward too, and it's some people, like when they go in this industry, they get overly competitive and be like, oh, I can't be with you because you're gonna take my clients or you're gonna take worker. But like what I've learned is that it's good to be competitive, but like not in a bad way. Like you can grow with people.
Exactly.
And if you see someone doing something really good, you can do something similar.
I think that's
as your
starting
own.
to phase out, that traditional don't
Competitive.
take from my keep type of thought.
Attitude, yeah.
And I
In our industry specifically or in everything?
I only know this industry, so I'm only going to talk about this one. But I know beforehand, like it was very much like that. You know, wedding photographers would be like, if I'm going to bring someone in, like the one thing I do not want to happen is them to ever get better and then compete with me in the same area. You know, and it's just like, I mean, it's gonna happen regardless. So you might as well make a friend out of them, and you know, maybe in the future they're like, that guy was great. He showed me the ropes, and you know, now we have a mutual relationship rather than a combative relationship.
Because they can either hire you when they get to a specific level, or you just have someone now you can always learn from. Like I've had people that started with just a small DSLR and now they have their own production company, and now like they've done their own path that you can learn from, and then boom, now you have someone to hire.
I think the idea of hiring each other as filmmakers is underrated. Like it's just not mentioned enough. Like people just don't understand that enough. And I want to jump into that with you a little bit more and get into like more details. So we're just not in the idea realm here and we're really talking about feasible things. But I think it comes down to like, hey, I know 5 people that monthly they're gonna hire me for one thing a month and I'm making $1,000 a day. Okay, I'm making $5K a month. My month is good, right? So you don't need to know that many if you're a freelancer, and you don't need to compete or see them as competitors. Filmmakers, and like myself, I always need to hire you as a DP, you as an art director all the time. And like, let's say it's only happening once every couple months. Well, if you know enough people and they're hiring you once a month, you're literally getting enough money just from other filmmakers. You're not even talking to agencies, like advertising agencies. Maybe you're not even talking directly to clients. It's literally coming from that networking. So I emphasize that a lot. But we were talking about before we started, a lot of the clients that you get now are word of mouth, but also literally other filmmakers hiring you. How does that work? How does that process work?
That works by 7 years ago when I was like just getting into like paid, like okay paid work, like, you know, working for I'll say production companies rather than having my own clients, right? So I would start working for production companies. I could kind of see how a crew worked, and then you are on site with the crew, you're talking with the crew, and you're having fun with them, and then you just have friendly relationships with them, and then they bring you out multiple times, you see them again, you just get a bond with them. And so if they see you as someone who's trustworthy, that you can communicate, whatever, you're doing your job well. Whenever those people leave the job, which most of them do, they'll go to another employer or another employer. And this has happened a lot, where this company that I was freelancing for almost became like my seeding type of effort, where I would just be myself and be myself on those jobs, make a good impression. Those people would leave to go to other employers. There would be a production there, and they'd say, we need more people, and they would be like, I worked with this guy. So everybody I met on that job would eventually leave because they would get burnt out at this one company, and then they would need another hand at whatever their next employer was, and they would call back on me because I was like one of the very few freelancers that they knew. So a couple of those people, two of those people, I met maybe 6-7 years ago, and they would probably account for 40% of my income now, because they have just over the years gone from company to company to company and always been, David's a reliable choice, let's bring him in, and I meet this employer for them, and then I meet the next one, and so on. And a lot of times they will get projects coming to them that they can't take because they're full-time employees. So who does it go to? It goes to the freelancer. And they keep throwing these jobs to me. So just having that network of, I try to be the best crew member that I can and be nice to work with. I've just seen it come back so many times where they're like, here, take this job, this job, this job. We need an extra hand. Come on board, come on board.
It's like our golden rule in like this industry. It's like the better you like energy you bring on set, the more like gigs you get. And then of course true friendships and really cool stuff. But not only until like you have your fixed position, like he just said, he will be the camera guy, I'll be the art director, to create more than just work, that when you want to translate your world of ideas into a piece, that's where you think, I believe is you're in a sweet spot. Like you trust people at the point that your vision will come through, and it takes time. It's not like tomorrow you're gonna find your perfect crew, but still, if you practice a lot, that golden rule, bring it on, the best you could offer, it comes back to you, I feel.
I think we always run back to that. Sorry to cut you off, but it's like always be a pleasure to work with. I think on every single podcast, it's always run back to, we always bring that up at least once.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, and if you have some flexibility, like I primarily do DP work, where I'm the one with the camera in charge of what we're capturing, but having that flexibility for other people to say, you can hire me as a PA, I'll carry all this stuff and put it in there, and I'll get a lesser rate, but like I'm meeting all of you guys. Like the owner is seeing me here. Like there's gonna be a time when someone else isn't available. Let's get the guy we've already had here, you know. It makes a huge difference.
So how do you position yourself when it comes to that?
So I would market myself like on my website, on my marketing services, as I do this role. And I think that's really important, to push yourself out as this is what I do. So that's the first thing people see and recognize. But I will take jobs that are different roles, because some of my friends might be saying, hey, we need an assistant this day. Can you come? Like, yeah, that's not gonna hurt my brand image. The money will be fine. It's another connection point with you and your team, so that they're gonna see me again. Like, I do that all the time. The only thing I have like hard cutoff is post-production.
Not me, bye.
Yeah, no, that actually, it happened to me. I didn't even have to make the decision. So at this company where the employees kind of got burnt out quickly, a really quick turnover cycle, they knew me as, I shoot, and then when we come back, this is for trade shows and conferences. So we shoot all day, and then they have to create a recap at the end of the day that gets played the next morning. So a lot of times you shoot a 10-hour day and then be like, all right, well, can you help us edit this? Can you help us edit this? And I'm like, I guess, like, I don't really want to. And I'm not fast at editing, so be there even later. As the employees cycled, there was one time where they said like, oh, can you edit this? And I said, no, like I have to leave at a certain time. Like, unfortunately, I can't. That got back to someone else. And then when the new employees brought in, that was told to them, and they said, okay, we want to hire you for this new job, but we heard that David doesn't edit. And I was like, yeah, no, David does not edit. That's right. And I could now have that moving forward, and that kind of just flipped a switch where I was like, oh, you can just clearly say what you do and don't do. And you might get the job, you might not get the job, but if it's what you don't want to do, like, you will be happier if you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And so now that I'm like really pushing into that direction of like, I don't do it, okay, then the job doesn't get passed, or the job doesn't come to me. I can pass that on to someone else. Mm-hmm. And now they are like, oh, we kind of owe him on that one job that he gave us. So if something comes our way and we can't do it, we'll hand it back. So it's great. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and also I think realizing you're not as good doing something and finding somebody that really does it well and try to make a connection, a relationship. Really, you don't have to be best friends, but at least have, you know, that good relationship. And if you throw work, you get work. That's it. Because as a crew, we all have positions. We can't do everything, and you don't get to be director all the time, or, you know. So if you have that flexibility, plus you can, you know, just be known by what you do. I think that's a way to keep.
You can never be the best of everything. Yeah. Like, why would I be?
That's not true.
I'm the best. Like, you can't be the best, like, DP, then the best graphic designer, then the best, I don't know, like, polo player. Like, who knows? You can have a couple things that, you know, you do, but it's like specialists always get paid more than general doctors. Yeah. Like, that's always been the case. And pushing that, and then knowing things that, like, for me, like, a lot of times I push things that, like, I don't want to do this, not because I can't do it, but because I'm not going to enjoy the process. And me not enjoying the process is probably going to make it worse at the outcome.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this we have talked about before, but something that's new that I don't think we ever mentioned is positioning yourself externally to the world out there, but positioning yourself to the film community internally. So to the film community, and that's already what I do, but I think it's cool that you're saying it out loud, because it makes me realize how much I do it and how much more I should do it, and everyone else in the industry too. Because like Val was saying, I'm going to have this commercial that we're shooting in January. Okay, I'm going to have EMMANUEL as the DP. I'm going to have Val as the art director. Like, I have positions associated with certain people. Doesn't mean that that's the only thing they can do, though, because internally we know that if you need me as a PA and you only have this amount of money, I'm going to show up and I'm going to help you out because you're my friend and you've helped me out with that stuff. Externally, nobody has to know that. Exactly. I position myself as a director primarily.
I guess
that's my main thing. I do editing, I do DP work, I do pre-production, post-production. I position myself as a director. Internally, if you guys need me, I was AD on her documentary. I helped him out with a bunch of stuff. It depends on what it is. So I love that you're saying that, you know? Position yourself to the world and to your clients, and then position yourself to your friends and to your film buddies, you know?
Yeah, for me, honestly, it was a very good marketing for myself. I noticed there's, well, of course, the lack of girls in the industry is known, but also, you know, I always thought of myself like, oh, you know, I'm camera friendly. I have an eye for a camera, but as I grew in the media, I was like, no, well, let me get this straight. I have the eye for it. I can be part of the camera department. And then digging in the different skills, I found, you know, doing light and being a gaffer. And then nobody wants that work. And I love it. And it's so cool. And then that comes to set design and then art direction. And it just opened a different thing that fits me better. But also for me to tell people, like, I've been called just because I'm a girl and never heard of a girl doing a gaffering. So it's like, it's crazy. I guess, like, if a girl is bold enough to say I'm a girl, she will be called for many gigs. out there. Hear me out, girls. But just to say that it's really heavily male side, and you have to have a touch like artistry to do it. So it's crazy, but it worked for me because like as a camera person, to beat you and you and you, let me being honest, you know, like they want to hire me over like some guys. First of all, like as you get more pro, like gear is more and more heavy.
Yeah.
So it's like it's harder for a girl to handle. However, I can be watching the screen and being like, move this there, and like, you know, I have like, I think my eye is telling me to do this, and I can still step in and do that. But you know, it's like it's my reality as a girl. But I never suffer for, I'm not a man and I cannot do this because I cannot market myself. But not really. I was like, oh, let me just give it a nice twist, and you know, it's just it's catchy.
Well, you know, everybody has their unique assets. Like you're bilingual, right? Yeah, that is a huge. Yeah, so almost trilingual. Sometimes being a female is a unique asset too, and it has nothing to do with like the quota of genders on set. There was one shoot I was in where we were doing a music video for just a big, large guy, and then it was me, and then the director was a pretty big guy, and we had 3 models. And they rented out a hotel room. We had lights everywhere. It made it look exactly, like the image was exactly what they wanted. The models had the exact look we wanted. And wardrobe was on point. And like everything on paper was be like, check. This production is going perfect. But the vibe was just a little off. But my main buddy that I was going to hire as a PA wasn't available, so I had to get my other friend. And this is the person that I mentioned before who has thrown me a lot of work. So I said, well, I have a need for this role. Are you available? Yeah, I'm available. So she came in and completely like leveled the weird men on this side, women on this side feeling. And the girls were like, do you think these shoes look good? And she's like, yeah, well, I would actually do this one. And I'm like, thank you so much for being here. Yeah. You completely changed the vibe here, and you made our talent relax. Everything just feels better, you know. So everybody has unique assets to themselves.
Yeah, and that's why I don't rely on being a girl and man. Some people ask me, how do you feel, you know, how's your girls community? And I'm like, small, like we know, but I think most girls that at work, at least, we have a different perspective of that. You know, like you cannot freeze because there's a bunch of dudes in one set. You know,
but I like what you said. I don't even think it's about like necessarily representation on a set, but it's about like that it's needed, and for I've encountered situations like that before where like there's only women in front of the camera, there's only men behind the camera. It's just it's off. The balance is off, and you can just tell there's something weird going on, and you just don't feel comfortable.
No matter how good you are at the camera, you can't change the vibe of the set.
You gotta be really reasonable though, and understand all of that, and see what's going on to be able. And I think me focusing on my directing, I can see that more easily than when I'm like DP hat on and I'm just doing like, okay, that shot looks good. Yeah, but when you look at her, she's not feeling it.
You know what is another example of this? Like I like watching MMA. So at the end of a fight, let's say it was a really bad knockout and the crowd's going crazy and the fighter's so happy, all of his work has paid off. And he's going on top of the cage, you know, screaming, like, which the commissioners are like, please come down, come down. He comes down. There's a medical attendant there who needs to look at the fighter to clear him. Like, okay, you're good to be called done with this fight, right? And I noticed that they always ignored that person. They'd be like, get off me, like don't check my eyes with the flashlight, like I'm in my moment right now. And I saw the UFC switch it to an older lady. And when that 50-year-old lady kind of put her hands on the ridiculous superhuman athlete and was like, can I check? They just were like, oh yeah, like I'm not gonna push you away. And so she was able to like, okay, let me just check, flashlight, you can see, okay, good to go, enjoy your win.
Wow,
I was like, that is very smart.
I love having Val as the art director and sometimes Brooke as well. I don't know if you've worked with Brooke before. Brooke was actually an actress on The Blue Room, which is like the film that we met at that festival. I love having Brooke there on set for that, and even like as an assistant director as well, because she's gonna have the eye and put herself in the perspective of that woman that's in front of the camera at that moment, and it's just a different conversation. As men, we're not able to tell women's stories. As I'm a guy, I'm from Brazil, but like here, I'm not always seen as like Latino or white. It's like a weird mix where like it's hard to like, so even for that, I've been on sets before where knowing Spanish helped me get the people that were in front of the camera just so much more chill and like ready to shoot, even if the scene was in English. That's the crazy part. You speak to them on their first language, Spanish or Portuguese has happened with me before, where they're like, you can tell that they're just super nervous. You talk to them in Spanish or you talk to them in Portuguese. Oh, okay, I'm good, I'm relaxed, I feel like home. Then you go in. You don't know when you're gonna need that representation, but when you have it, it's just insane, yeah.
And even when I was on the set for the breast cancer documentary, remember when we were shooting all the victims? It's a very sensitive topic. We have like how many breast cancer survivors? We interviewed 4. And like that time, most of the crew was just female. It's like me and like 2 other dudes.
Just to explain, we're filming a breast cancer awareness documentary with Val. And obviously, like, what a majority of those survivors are women, like almost all of them. It's like 90-something%, I think. And so having you as the director, I mean, of course, makes a huge difference. Right?
Different than me, the director, going like, tell me your story. Instead of like someone that can like even be there. And like, I try obviously to be subtle and like understand, and like I was like emotional the whole time. Like, wow, like I didn't know you were going through this. But it doesn't have the same vibe as me asking a guy, beard, hairy looking, rather than a nice.
Yeah, and we had one of them that we had a little situation with her parking or something, and she was not in the mood. And everybody knew before she even walked in. And I was like, this is where I put like, I'm cool, put card, like we're gonna work out this, and you know, like just making people comfortable is, I guess, one of my just human gifts, you know, like it's kind of my personality, but I had to like go through it and, you know, like make sure we're all set, we are all good with her and stuff like that. And then we had a hell good interview. So that part of, you know, being able to connect with your subject, it's not always that, but, you know, just tap in that part of like trust, you know, like it's so important.
And almost any crew member can have some interaction with the talent or with the client, and it's on you to be able to, like, whenever you're talking to the client, you're representing the production company that you're working for, or the crew that you're working for, and you may only have a couple words with the client or the person who's paying the bill, but that could have a huge impact on how that day goes. So, you know, the main guy in charge, let's say the director, he's probably really good at communicating to anyone, to the actors, to the crew members, to the client. Like, he knows this is like really most of the job is being able to effectively communicate. But you have a weird PA or a weird grip who like says something, it can mess up the whole thing. It can like introduce a lot of doubt to the client, like, oh gosh, is he gonna say that to the models we hired, or, you know, whatever. So it's like everybody has to be able to communicate well and like with like awareness of like, how's this gonna come off? You know?
Well, you have a whole video talking about don't be a jerk on set, because like you never know. But also I think what you said is like about picking the right people to be on set with you. Because like you can just make the wrong move and you're like, okay, that was
some
not...
people like they're weirder because the actual movie or whatever you're producing is weird, and then you need that weird vibe going, you know, like.
But not like behind the camera. Behind the camera, I think what you need is like that chemistry between everyone and everyone to be on the same page, because you can get in.
I think you need open-minded people in general in this industry. Like you cannot stop by interrupting your own belief, your own, you know, mindset or whatever. You have to work with whatever is served right there and find being a nice person, being kind, and all of that. Because I feel like we tap into people's world more than our own world when we're producing. We just walk in, tell the story, get in their mind, get back. Then go to a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of their world, right?
We just get to see. So if you're not comfortable just dipping yourself in something you're gonna be telling, then just don't.
I definitely want to talk about going into specific worlds, but what you said before, I have had a director very recently say, there's another guy that I normally hire to do this role. And it's kind of like we have like an unspoken thing where I'm going to hire you, this other guy. But he goes, this is a bigger project, and there will be multiple moments where I will not be with you, and I just trust you more to not say anything that could mess up the vibe. So like, I know you're not normally in this role, so I'm going to have to pay you your higher rate, pay my higher rate. But he's like, I just trust, I don't have to worry when I leave the room that I'm gonna come back to like the client being like, who is this, you know? who did you bring here?
That's a nightmare, yeah, especially if it's your client.
Yeah, and so that had nothing to do with my technical skill.
Yeah. Soft skills. We have literally a video on that too, like soft skills, like talking about the things that like, hey, look at us, like we got along here. We know, because that's the other, I was talking to EMMANUEL about that, about like, I'm not going to jump into details, but people that they don't know when to be politically incorrect and they just like try to joke about things constantly, even when there isn't a joke, and when clearly, like you got to get those like clear signs that like, hey, okay, now we're on set, we're about to shoot, let's start. And like they're like trying to make small jokes about things where there aren't any jokes to be made. Like now it's like serious mode, and they're just not getting that clue. You know what I mean? We were talking about that last week. Yeah. But as a director, or in your case, you own your own production company and you are a DP mostly, right?
It used to be like that, and then that rebranding where I said no post-production took away that full production house look or functionality. And so now it's just a freelance DP. You know, it really kind of can just be labeled as like a freelance videographer, because I can do a lot of different roles. I can AC, I can, you know, PA. I got hired last year to just direct a commercial, and I was like, it felt so weird. You guys have a lot of gear right here. To like get in my car from my apartment with nothing, drive up, not help anyone set up because it's already set up, and then be like, all right, someone give me the call sheet. Like, let's get the schedule out. Are the actors ready? I was like, this is the most like interesting thing ever.
And then you were like, I got paid for that? And then
I got paid more for that.
More for that. And then I'm like, okay, what did I do?
My big brain.
Yeah, that's what I felt. Yeah, I was like, I got my hands in my brain. I think that's it.
My own.
That is something really interesting. Like I said, that YouTuber who's selling his information, like we are selling our information. I know how to orchestrate this thing on set. Yeah. And that can be a huge value. It can be a very high day rate, and it's just one of the things that I could do. But to your question, what I normally do is I freelance DP or like one-man band type of thing. So we're doing an interview, I have single camera, interview lighting, interview audio, and I just make a beautiful frame for wherever they're gonna use this video. A lot of times it's when companies are selling, and you know, they're like, we're trying to get like a $20 million sale. So a production company will be like, we will handle this video that will be seen by the investors, and then they'll find a local hire, and then I will bring all the gear, and I will film, and I will hand off the footage, and then I'm done.
Do they give you the specs for the footage that they need specifically?
Yes.
Like what they want?
They will give me the specs, and the more I have done this, the more I realize like I want to be as prepared as possible. I never want to show up and be like, what resolution are we shooting in?
Yeah.
You know, what are we doing? No. So a lot of times we'll just have a discovery call. It's not even a discovery call. It's more like an alignment call where it's like, we are going to do this. Now let's just do the specifics. Let me tell you the specifics. So I always have like a little checklist, what resolutions, what frame rates, how are the audio channels, how many audio sources, all that stuff. And I do it the night before so that when I show up, it's pull out and go. And that has made a huge difference, which, you know, is not some type of weird thing you have to pay for. It's just doing it the night before. And yeah, so a lot of my work is just freelance DP or one-man band corporate interview.
So you said interview lighting, interview audio. What do you mean by that for the people that they have no idea what that means?
Yeah, most of these interviews are in their executive office with a big floor-to-ceiling window behind them. And I have a producer to my side, and they are talking across the frame, and I'm just here with headphones on listening, so I need to light it. So usually it's just a simple key, fill, and a little backlight.
So a 3-point lighting, key, fill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just like the fill is just bounced up into the ceiling to give some overall ambient fill. But really 3 lights, that's what I have right now. I just have 3. And then, because you're usually lighting up like a 12 by 12 room. Mm-hmm. You're pretty much in those.
Yeah,
So you're good with that?
Yeah. Now you're not good if it is that floor to ceiling window and it's a Miami downtown skyline.
Then what do you do in that case?
The only answer is you need more power. That's the only answer. I've had the lights so close to them where I'm like, I'm so sorry, but like I have to get you as bright as possible. And I know that affected the interview to have a light right here, you know?
All this peripheral vision is just light.
Yeah, and then you get...
They're tan, half of their body is tan, the other half is white when they're done. They're like...
Yeah, when you don't have enough output, you are bouncing everything back in. Mm-hmm. There's 5-in-1 reflectors everywhere. You know, you're just trying to get all of it back. But then you have to deal with, well, if I have all that, am I going to see all those reflections in the window?
Oh, that's the
you know,
headache.
so it's like it's really difficult, or it can be difficult if you don't have the right equipment. Yeah. So you just need to buy the right equipment to make your job easier, and it's a lot easier when you're saying I'm primarily doing this type of work, this shoot. Whereas if I said you need to buy the right equipment and you're doing every type of job, well, you're going to spend a lot of money.
Yeah. What about audio? Just so we get those things across, because you said that with lighting. I love that, and then audio.
Yeah, it's most productions typically ask for it's a single subject, so they ask for a lav and a boom overhead. Okay. And there's some really great options that can have a boom that can fold into itself. It's really nice and light, and just having backup sources just makes everyone feel better.
I love that. That's cool.